VAT 708, well, this VAT 708 can probably spend the next 45 minutes just on this, but let's see how we get on with this. It's a bit like brain surgery made simple. It's not quite simple with the VAT legislation. The first thing you have to do is decide if the property is a dwelling. And generally speaking, you could say a dwelling could be a bed sit, i.e. just has a bed in it and nothing else. That is possible definition of a dwelling. But is it self-contained living accommodation? And the revenue say no. And there's a lot of legislation on what is affected by VAT 708 and what isn't. And I'm only looking at the circumstances that relate to you. Now, the question is, am I interested in VAT 708? Well, A, it relates to the cost that the builder charges you. So number one, I'm not interested if the builder is not VAT registered. So if, for the sake of argument, I have a jobbing builder, an electrician, a plumber, if they don't buy materials and their turnover is below the new VAT threshold that was increased in the budget from £77,000 to £79,000, then if they just supply their labour and they're not VAT registered, then VAT 708 doesn't apply to me because they're not charging me VAT. If they are VAT registered, then they would be charging me VAT at the rate of 20%. So then I go to the builder and I say, are you okay with VAT 708? Are you happy that you only have to charge me 5%? If he says, yeah, don't worry, Gov, then fine, not my problem. Why is it not my problem? He's the VAT registered entity. If there's a VAT visit, the VAT visit will be on him, not on you. But things aren't always that simple. So normally what happens is that you may find that a builder who is a jobbing builder just over the VAT threshold may not be au fait with VAT 708. And in some circumstances it may be better to go to a larger firm, as long as there's not too much in the difference in price, because they may be more au fait with this. And I spoke to one at the weekend. He knows exactly what questions to ask. If you've got planning permission, he says, I need copies of the planning permission, I need copies of the plans. I need to satisfy myself that you're making a single occupancy dwelling into a multi-occupancy dwelling, and can I be happy that you've done that? Can I claim the reduction in VAT on professional services, architects, surveyors, even scaffolding? Well, the answer is no. Can I claim it on the building, on the garage and the driveway if I'm doing that? Well, if it's all part of one work, you can. If you go to the nth degree and you've got a big block of flats, then what the revenue would say is that if you're doing the top floor and not below, and below you're just doing some refurbishment, you don't get that bit, but you do get that bit. So you've got to be careful what you do and how you do it, but it's a very, very important tool if it works. And the way it works, it must be self-contained living accommodation. And self-contained living accommodation, well, this is the definition of a dwelling, which you've got to pass to get to the first stage. This is persons not forming a single household. What that means is that covers things like nunneries, convents, things like that, one big unit. We're talking about self-contained living accommodation, and the most important thing is in this case it says multi-occupancy dwelling built for the purpose, subsequently altered to something different. Well, we aren't going to do that. A dwelling consists of self-contained living accommodation where the basic elements of living, sleeping, washing, preparation of food and so on are located together within a defined area, not shared by more than one household. Broadly what that means, if it's a bed set, you're probably not going to get it. If it's a studio flat, you probably are. Now, where you fall within that is degrees. And degrees are great because what sometimes clients say to me, why are you so interested in case law? Well, case law is the bit that if you ever have an argument with the revenue, that is the defining line. If you can find a case that suits your circumstances, then you've won the case. And what happens is the revenue would do the same. So what you need to do is find something that's appropriate to your circumstances. Al Quds Israel Housing Association, this is a really good one. Now, if I can find out the bit I think that actually makes a difference in all this, and the bit that's most important is what the case actually said. The thing I like is Dr. Nuella Bryce decided this, very clever lady, giving some really good judgments. There's a number of cases that flip-flop between the courts, some they win, some they lose. Al Quds Israel Housing Association. Let's see what it says. It says that in this case, the flats had their own lockable front door. They had a wash basin. They had the feeling of luxury in the surrounding accommodation. They had their own furniture and television. They had a tenancy agreement. It was the principal place of residence of the people that lived there. No one else could actually have egress through that property. It was all self-contained. No one else could get in there. It had ensuite showers, refrigerator, kettle, microwave. Interestingly, for this case, it says, in the 21st century, premises with their own front door, ensuite bathing facilities, and the ability to cook with a microwave and kettle are self-contained living accommodation. The thing that's very interesting about that is that covers the Jewish community. And in this case, it said the Jewish community need more room for separating meat and milk. Dr. Nuala Bryce said, we only need basic food here. We don't need a big kitchens. And in fact, in this case, they had big kitchens downstairs they could use. If you have a microwave, a hot plate, a sandwich maker, they're saying in the 21st century that that is sufficient to be food. And what they're saying is that even if you want to live on takeaways is fine, but you must have some really basic stuff. So this one is I think is the best case. It's a 2004 case. Oldrings development. This is an interesting one as well. Oldrings, what actually happened is in this case they didn't even have a shower. They had a place for a shower to go in, and they didn't have any cooking facilities. I think they had 5 electric sockets. But again, it was decided that this was appropriate for living in the 21st century. So I don't think that in some of these you've got to look at your particular circumstances to see how they fit in. But this one, like I say, it didn't have a shower unit. What it did have, it had its separate power, it had separate electrical power, and what it did is have direct access to the street. So you may have one you may win on one point but have another negative point. So you've got to look at a couple of cases, but if this works, what it means for VAT 708 is that the VAT that the builder charges you, and this is if the builder buys the materials and the labour, he only charges you at the rate of 5%, not 20%. So that's the important thing about VAT 708. I must thank John Rose. This is the west wing of his accommodation in Kent here. I'm not sure if this is the butler or the chauffeur's accommodation, but you can see how plush these are. S.A. Whiteley, what happened with that one is that didn't go in the taxpayer's favour because what happens is the buildings it was spread over a number of buildings and that wasn't self-contained, so that didn't get them anywhere.